Hello there. Well, what a pickle. Brussels and Dublin might have both cocked up in this Brexit trade war row. As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. I've got a couple of doozies for you today. One shows the duplicitous nature of Dublin regarding the border across Ireland, and the other shows the knot that the EU has tied itself up in regarding the Brexit agreements it made with the UK. And both show how imperative it now is that the UK uses Article 16 to throw EU control out of Northern Ireland for good. Yes, we've been force-fed a diet of UK bad, EU good from all and sundry, including the likes of John Major and Joe Biden, all telling the UK that it must bow down and do as instructed. Well, keep watching while I tell you a couple of things that might put some of this into a completely different light. The UK is, I think, on much firmer ground than some would have you believe. But the UK government still seems to be intent on being squeaky clean and pure as the driven snow when dealing with Brussels and Dublin at the moment, and not moving ahead too fast and tripping itself up. The UK post-Brexit negotiator Lord Frost was briefing his fellow peers in the House of Lords this morning, where he said that we won't be triggering Article 16 today. But he did warn the EU to stay calm and keep things in proportion, and also that no country has a greater interest in the Belfast Agreement than the UK does. We are hardly likely to proceed in a way that puts that at risk, he said. If the EU were to choose to react in a disproportionate way and decide to aggravate the problems in Northern Ireland rather than reduce them, that is, of course, a problem for them. At that point, we would be entitled to come to our own judgment. So it seems that if the EU still refuses to play ball and engage in proper negotiations, the UK is ready, and ready quite soon, to trigger Article 16 and put in place new rules to override the protocol and secure Northern Ireland's full place in the UK once again. And the warning is that if the EU tries to punish the UK for taking such an action, which by the way is completely legitimate under the agreements the EU signed up to, if Brussels tries to punish us, then we're ready for it. Now, as we are all continually told by Dublin, Brussels and Biden's White House, just the merest sniff of border checks across the island of Ireland would result in a return to violence. There must be no hard border, they shout and scream. There must be no border checks, they wail. And our entire Ramona establishment joins in the raucous chorus. Well, Dublin has just shown us what complete bollocks that is. Yes, they have. And how? Well, by setting up for border checks to start next year for certain goods being sent from Northern Ireland into the Republic of Ireland. Oh yes, that borderless border will now become a hard border for certain items as dictated by Dublin, with Dublin supplying the funds to get those checks done. Because the Times reports that these checks will be made to stop solid fuels that could cause air pollution being sent from the north to the south, with the Irish Republic Environment Minister Eamon Ryan saying, "Given the links between burning of solid fuels and the health effects of air pollution, as well as the potential for market distortion for businesses properly adhering to the regulations, increased multi-agency enforcement and inspections of cross-border fuel movements will be required." And also that local authorities will be given dedicated resources to do it. And here was me thinking the idea of the protocol was to keep Northern Ireland inside an EU single market for goods with no cross-island border. Wonder if they went through the Article 16 process for this first. Where's the outrage? Where's the wall-to-wall BBC and Sky coverage of the potential restart of the Troubles? Has Sinn Féin condemned this new policy? Where's Sleepy Joe and his White House team? Is he planning to go to Dublin to berate the Irish government for a huge breach of the Belfast Agreement? How many times have we been told there must be zero checks across that border? Zilch. Nada. I don't care what the excuse is. Dublin, presumably with the blessings of Brussels, is doing exactly what it says can't be done. If there can be a border for 100,000 tonnes a year of solid fuels, then why not for everything else? And before any wise-ass says this is okay because it's for air quality, I would bet the house that if this was reversed and it was solid fuel being stopped by a border from going south to north, then there would be a global meltdown with Irish Joe Biden leading the charge. So no, that claim does not cut the mustard. No, we're dealing with openly hypocritical and duplicitous politicians who claim one thing and do another themselves. But I don't want outrage. I don't want anyone to wake up Sleepy Joe over this. Let the checks start. Let the confirmation that there is a border across Ireland be physically demonstrated. Demonstrated by the very people who have tried to weaponise the claim that there can't be a physical border there. Let's show that Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland are two different places, so let's quietly let them get on with this to allow us to prove our point that border checks are okay. And this is on Dublin and the EU, not the UK. But it's not just Dublin that seems to be playing games. The European Union might have cocked up too. But before I get to that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. So, question. Would you feel cheated if you had two separate insurance policies with the same company, one for the car and one for the home and contents, and you had to make a claim on the contents because you broke something, but when the policies came up for renewal, you find the no claims bonus has been removed from your car insurance policy because of the claim on the separate home and contents policy? Would you feel just a little bit miffed? Would you think that unfair? Would you complain? Well, that little trick may be what the EU is trying to do to the UK. Because our Brexit arrangements with the EU are covered by two separate agreements, two separate treaties. And the EU, it seems, wants to try and use one of them, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement that came into force on the 1st of January this year, to punish us for triggering Article 16, which is part of the other agreement, the earlier Withdrawal Agreement that came into force a year earlier. Now, just to recap, do you remember all that grand talk from Michel Barnier about sequencing the Brexit talks, and that the arrangements must be agreed for Northern Ireland first and foremost, before any trade could be discussed? Do you remember that? So the EU and UK signed the Withdrawal Agreement. This covered the transition phase, while we stayed in the single market between the UK legally leaving the EU on the 1st of January 2020 and the 1st of January this year when we finally left the single market. And importantly, it is that withdrawal agreement that contains the Northern Ireland Protocol, including the much talked about Article 16 that governs how Northern Ireland stays in the single market while still being in the UK. And everyone in Brussels, Dublin and now the White House insisted this meant absolutely no hard border across Ireland, ever. Yeah, but that's now been blown, hasn't it? We then later signed up to the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, a separate treaty that details the trade arrangements between the UK and the EU. So if the UK legitimately triggers Article 16 from the protocol and uses it in the narrow way intended to deal purely with problems caused within Northern Ireland by the way the EU is weaponising the protocol, then in what legal way can the EU use the other treaty, which we have not disturbed, to somehow punish us for triggering Article 16? I would argue they can't. Which may be why the EU hasn't actually come back with any proposals about what it would do if we did trigger Article 16, and within what legal basis they would be framed. What I'm saying is that the Northern Ireland Protocol is just that. It relates to Northern Ireland, whereas the later Trade and Cooperation Agreement governs our trading arrangements with the European Union. They are separate, so I would argue they should be treated separately, especially in the courts. If the UK oversteps the arrangements in the protocol, redress for the EU is via the arrangements in the protocol, not through waving the Trade and Cooperation Agreement at us and threatening to tear bits of it up. But as far as I can see, the UK will be sticking to the protocol requirements by only adjusting the arrangements between Great Britain and Northern Ireland, not those between the UK and the EU. So as far as I can tell, we would not be breaching any part of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement. So how could the EU use clauses in that Trade and Cooperation Agreement to punish us, without themselves breaking that treaty, which is international law? So as you can see, we're not on as shaky ground as the anti-Brexiteers would try to fool you into thinking. Dublin is about to put border checks in place across Ireland, and the EU would unlawfully break a treaty to try and get back at the UK for lawfully using a clause, Article 16, in another treaty. So much for friends and partners. Now, as a last little snippet of news, BT has rejected the European Union and gone for Made in Britain. Yes, BT has opted to go with the UK company OneWeb to provide it with future satellite services, instead of going for the EU's Galileo system. And customers might start seeing the results of this as early as next year. Marvellous! So what's your opinion on the duplicity of Dublin and Brussels? Please like and comment below.